Namaste. So I wanted to start to talk about accessing energy and fasting and things of that nature. Sort of consumption, how much we intake and how much we put to good use, how much we produce and create. Consumption in the realm of consumption sort of holds a barrier there, a defining line between what we perceive as reality and what reality actually is on the other side, and manifestation at its core, our energy, our accessible energy, sort of overeating and or eating as we would find that time of human construct have us eat in the morning at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and portions and amounts, depending on what we decide to consume, when we decide to consume it. It will all mandate a couple of things, and how our body turns itself on to consume and process what we eat. It also turns into the thoughts that we think. Depending on what we eat, it will sort of add into some forms of guilt and persecution that turn into vegetarianism, and then veganism, and then going even further and just being a little fanatical with anything is part of the mind construct that is confining us inside this body. Concepts themselves tend to reorganize the homeostasis of your body. When I don't want to just dive into books and open a bookmark and show you here it's in this book, but indeed in one of my yoga books, it talks about fasting and consuming red meats, processed foods, and things of that nature, and depending on what we focus on consuming will dictate how much energy it takes for the body to convert all of that into energy. So eating like we would a normal American diet, or the times of the day, how people just kind of mostly eat today because of when we're gathered together, and then it's midday, and then it's dinner time, and things like that. We kind of tend to follow instead of listen, and follow our own body. So starting to break free from those patterns is can be a process. One meal a day at about 2:00, and juices, fruits and vegetables, nuts and berries. Eating a less invasive diet like any of those, or the levels of consumption, how much we eat, and then listening to the energy that we are provided with in about 15 minutes, kind of shifts some of your major ways of feeling how we access energy, but that it is a little bit more subtle. It is a little bit more of you've got to do that to feel this. It's the same as breathing and our breath. How becoming familiar with your breath will show you how much energy you intake, what you do with your energy, and then how much is just wasted in so many terms. Like none of it is wasted, but how much gets put to energizing the system, and then what we do with it in terms of manifesting. Since our thoughts are mostly based around negativity and doubt and blame, the energy we access is going to be limited to a belly button experience, a midway, and then it's going to kind of disperse out into everyone that we engage with. Depending on how we engage with other people, it will charge you up, or you'll touch someone else or talk to someone else. It's different forms of touch. Even our hearing is touching someone with your soul. So we will engage with someone else and they will disperse this energy, or we will charge up together. So there's quite a bit of gray area in there. A fortitude, solidified mind will be able to block out these energy vampires, as some have named it, sort of opening up more light to shadows and dark places in everyone. As we reveal ourselves to ourselves, everyone in our world kind of flourishes. So the responsibility is yours, and how to meet this energy is going to really provide you with the understandings that anyone like this is going to be trying to provide. So meeting this energy is best done through the nostrils and your breath, your lips as well. When you flex and feel the tension in your face, you will stop the subtle vibration from growing. It's almost like itching. When you have an itch and you start scratching it, you almost gave up. It was almost there. I've been ticklish since birth, and very energetic, very can't sit still. And then once you break through that, you can really sit still. It is nothing more than anxious, nervous energy built up that then turns into an argument inside our own mind that torments the running thought that is being fed by the subconscious programs that are running on default. Out of the 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day that we consume and think we think, it dwindles down into about 500 to 800 thoughts that we repeat on and repeat on and repeat on, and then change our ways of thinking throughout the day. Most of it is due to how the body is breathing, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, the nostrils switch over to feed the analytical mind, the aspects of self-preservation that keep you alive while outside of the cave. So it's very natural to have at 10 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock you completely shift over using one side of the brain's hemisphere to the other. And it's a process of connecting both of them together, connecting your imagination during the daytime, and your analytical thinking mind during your dreamscape and your nighttime. They help each other. They are only always trying to keep one another kind of in alignment with what is best for you, what you're working towards. The subconscious and the ego are only always trying to help you attain the life of your dreams. So I know it can get kind of confusing in there, and we can feel like we've lost free will and we've lost any idea of destiny, right? It's my destiny to suffer is what turns into the egoic expression that is being fed to us. So getting in front of the animal, getting on top of the body that we borrow is critical, is an enormous step. And it does begin as simple as controlling your nostrils. Whenever you're going to set in motion this stillness, this calm. So plug your right nostril. You can close your right eye. You can also over exasperate the muscles in the body so it starts to do it for you. So you can kind of close one and open the other. And there are some inner muscles up in here that will start to get turned on when you start to do this, when you begin to get familiar with your face, with muscles in the back of your skull, with muscles in your stomach, abdomen, and root area. Clench your root chakra, the holy anus. This gets into a fanatic expression of feeling good, being followed and drawn to in things like taboo sexual expressions. That sexual energy is the beginning. We bring it down and then back up. And in climbing Jacob's ladder, instead of having all of our energy creating a war within and staying in the sacral chakras, the lower three regions, it creates anxiety, it creates frustration, anger. You can feel the prana, the heat, turning the wrong way. There's no wrong way, but turning backwards there. Pushing out instead of sucking in. You will feel the vortex draw in each and every one of these areas. You can really start to use your heart and draw the energy into the heart and expand inside the vastness of the heart cave, and it will it'll provide a number of things. It depends on where you are on your journey, what steps along the path you are at will sort of facilitate epiphanies and ideas to organize themselves, and a bit of a string theory shows up, kind of explaining how we as a human brain kind of follow down a construct of needing to find your keys, and needing to have a reason, needing to have details and proof, needing to consume information that does something to you, right? All of this information does something to you, but it's all being disorganized inside while chasing after some certain things like energy, like sleeping to feel energized, like eating to feel energized, like And we can look at both of these. You can look at both of those aspects of accessing energy and see how when we are groggy and we wake up at the wrong time, the body is like, nah, I want some more rest. I want a little more energy. And we can look at overeating or consuming anything. Information is the same. How our thoughts are running on top of each other and sort of instilling a state of awareness inside us that is anything other than bliss, anything other than, I say bliss because it is a balance and a stillness. Most of us have been fed and lived lives entirely driven by anxiety and stress and a need to fit in, a need to prove yourself, a need to feel validated, a need to cling. And just letting go is an enormous process. So it is super powerful to begin with the breath. And as you breathe in, imagine little plus signs, little positivity, positivity, positivity. Anything works. Energy, energize, and you can feel your whole body fill up. And as you exasperate the expression and even letting go and exhaling can build the energy to rise. So as a rule of thumb, when you're breathing, your inhalation will build energy up and your exhalation will relax you into calm, a state of deep relaxation. But deep relaxation also triggers us into a state of fight or flight because it's nothing normal. It's nothing comfortable. Our reorganized comfortability, our normalized now is a state of chasing something or running from something. So the reorganization with our relationship with the void of nothingness is really where you're going to get the most traction from any of all this, because everything else is kind of on the surface. And yes, we can go step through those shadows or those layers individually and have numerous miraculous experiences that will show up for you naturally, even if you head straight for the root of the, I don't want to say problem, because nothing is a problem. Nothing is anything other than what we believe and set into motion. Our karma, our decided states of awareness. So it really is a choice, and getting on top of that choice begins with the breath. So let's do a little bit of breathing now, and we're going to if you couldn't tell, I was doing it backwards in the beginning there, breathing with force in, and then letting it push its way out. But it's a little harder to allow it to push its way out. So shoving air in from the belly will do a number of things. It allows a vacuum to suck the air back in, and it shows us just how little we really need. So and now we're going to look at the inside of the nose, the cold, cool sensation that expands and almost grows. This tingling of the finite hairs inside your nostrils sort of allows you to walk down the plank, walk all the way to the edge and tip of that single hair, and then feel the void of nothingness inside the nose expand, and you will feel yourself get bigger. You'll feel yourself get smaller. You'll feel yourself both at the same time go shrink into while becoming bigger than the thoughts that are on top of us. So playing with the ego and the higher self, the super ego, or even the ego's ego that goes and trickles down the line, are angels and devils on our shoulders that have little angels and little devils on their shoulders that have little angels and devils on their shoulders that have little angels and devils on their shoulders. Sort of everything fractalizes and shrinks and expands. So there's a number of ways of practicing shrinking to expand, and we will get into quite a few of them in the near future. Also, meditations. I was trying to find a way to bring my morning meditations from doing Facebook Lives over to this, and it's posing to be a little more difficult from just the phone, so I'm probably gonna need to get on a computer and try it that way and see if that makes any difference. So thank you so much for your time. Have a beautiful and productive day, and hopefully you are able to kind of just view accessing energy in a different way, in a new way, because the way that we typically look at accessing energy, it can tend to confuse the systems, the unit, you. It can tend to make complications arise in being able to step through some of the emotional expressions that our ego is holding on to, as it would be a way of looking at things, a concept, an idea. The concept of emotions is a bit of a limiting belief. Energy and motion is how we put into what we want to perceive, what we want the subconscious to fill the blanks in with. So being able to get on top of all of this and being able to revitalize your body really turns into a way of enjoying life through a blissful filter. The stimulation on the outside of the skin is quite bland, is quite limited, as we bring our awareness to the inner world and find that everything we see reflected on the outside has spawned and sparked from in each of us. While we are also interwoven and connected with everyone and everything around us, we will tend to play the game of forgetting. The game of forgetting is the body that we borrow, and fear is typically connected to running out of time and a signal that you better hurry up and do something because something is after you, chasing you, hunting you. Fear is a number of things, but we don't have to live in fear anymore. And coming to a point of being able to understand the concept of emotions in a different way, as if it were outside of you in this force field, right? You collected as you in oneness are solidified with and by and through all emotions all at the same time. Now, to feel a singular emotion that sparks and spawns into the other emotions that hold it up, you don't really get to find a feeling of hatred without going through anger and a number of different emotions. So just coming to terms with all of these things in another way allows us to let go, and understanding all of our emotions aren't just on a timeline. They're actually holding hands, and they mean the same thing. They're all accessing the same limitless energy that then gets limited by the name that we put and place on them. So part of that is going to turn into our pranayama yoga, and where you feel a sensation in your body, you bring your awareness from behind your eyeballs to that area, sit with it, it will explain itself, and then we can step through that. And then it turns into a surge of energy going up your spine, climbing Jacob's ladder, and adding mental pictures can help and aid in all of these processes. That's where the layering of meditation come into play. You can wait for mental pictures, or you can utilize mental pictures and start to see the Buddha within. A smile to you, the Buddha to be. And this just practice of seeing the inner Buddha in anyone else, the accessible, limitless energy that they have at their fingertips that is going to expand, explode, and provide a different form of awareness for anyone that we interact with. Every word is planting seeds, and when the information is ready to provide itself to us, when we are ready for the information, it kind of shows up in understandable ways. Sort of how the never-ending now, the now, this beautiful present moment, this everything is happening for anything at all to happen. What the speed of thought is, what this timeline is, because you are so much more than meets the eye, so much more than you've ever been told to take yourself to be, so much more than what we believe, what we perceive, what we feel. You're so much more than just a singular emotion that is being deitized, being built up into something that is so much bigger, so much more of a challenge. Like, you have to take care of this. You've got to deal with this. And then if we don't, and all we do is bottle up the emotions, then it turns into some more self-turmoil, persecutions of sort of running away. And fight or flight is either running away from it or running towards it. We can step outside of that idea of conditioning, of the way that things are supposed to be, your animal and your conscious connection. So we can start to control all of that, and we can start to get ahead of that. And breath work is really going to be something that provides you with something that comes with you, something that you can take anywhere and anytime. You can feel any of all of these emotions triggering the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, the way that they trigger your body, and you can sort of differentiate between what is going to aid in stillness, bliss, collected conversation, and rational thoughts, or sort of just keep on feeding into something that is a mental fabrication that is only going to re-instill this anxiety, this chase, this I am not in my right place feeling of it. Not being where you're exactly meant to be. Everywhere that you're everywhere all at the same time. So wherever you are while you're stepping through the planet, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and feeling that is sometimes complicated. It is sometimes a conundrum, just because we're holding on to so many conundrums. We're holding on to so many contradicting beliefs. While thinking certain things, it feeds the reptile brain underneath, the limbic brain, our frontal cortex and neocortex are everything on top, everything that the brain evolves into, really sort of access a different form of infinite intelligence, opens up the diamond field of the mind. There's a lot of different things that we could say, but then the silence in between and the emptiness is all that we really need to and sort of just take your time. We have all the time in the world. You have all the time in the world. But yes, at any rate, finding a way to slow down what's happening turns into being able to slow down what's happening, because none of it is happening. While everything is happening all at the same time, we're kind of just filling in the blanks with our own subconscious programs. So to be able to flip the switch and turn on our success mechanism is something of a process that we will get into, and your money consciousness, your whatever you want to feel and perceive and go after and strive towards will start to find you as soon as you learn how to magnetize what you are, who you are, and what you're doing. Just like the game of cat and mouse and chasing after something, as soon as you're done with it, the game wants you to play. So it's gonna try and catch your attention again and again in these same old different ways, trying to trigger the reset button, for good and bad reasons, right? Like your reset button is going to help you in a number of ways, but most of the times that it's been pressed, it's used incorrectly. It's used in a screaming match that then, as soon as one individual threatens the other individual with abandonment, that's when the screaming match is like, how dare you? Abandonment is the only thing that the ego has to play with. So even the cough that wants to make me give in to the tickle, right, is an enormous doorway. So clearing your throat, or yes, it can aid in being able to be heard, but it's also part of the process of waking up, and that little tickle through your nostrils or through your mouth can really expand as we relax. and relax into that tickle and not chase after it, to try and scratch it, to try and itch it, to try and micromanage the body, showing us how to step beside our beliefs. Because if you can even hear me clearing my throat a little bit right there, didn't change anything. It didn't get rid of any of the phlegm. It didn't move any of it. It didn't change the tickle. It didn't do anything. It was all this like idea that I'm going to be able to speak more clearly if I micromanage what the mucous membrane is doing. And the mucous membrane is just showing us what emotions we're clinging to, what emotions are on top of us, what emotions are controlling us and driving us. So sickness and illness is very different than what we thought as well. Dis-ease creates disease. Everything is connected to the ego, and we each have this ability to play with shadows of humanity, shadows of ourself, shadows of our past, all sorts of different mirror reflections of what is actually happening and who you truly are. And then what do we do with that? How do we put all that energy into motion to actually have the life of our dreams manifest for us, instead of us running after and chasing our own tail and living a life of repeating ourselves like a rabbit or a parrot? Because running down the same game trails is nothing but gonna get you caught up. Only tripping ourselves and then screaming at everybody else because it's all their fault. And that reorganizing all of that and bringing awareness to accountability, responsibility, really shows us how the baggage that we were carrying is lifted off us. Ladrillo finds you, and the weight of the world is like a ton of bricks, and it dissipates as soon as we allow it to. As soon as we're able to wrap our head around a concept enough to get to a point and just say, yeah, that's a mental story. It's cool. It used to help me before kind of protect myself in a way, but those old patterns of protecting yourself really tend to drive wedges in between relationships and have other people assume that you're more important than them, and that's not the case, and that's not what's happening, and it is just an inner battle, an inner sanctuary is under attack, and we can reorganize all that. We can come to terms with what we've been doing to everything and everyone, how we step through the world, and just realize that you are an angel being carried by trillions of angels. And especially when we go to sleep, how we go to sleep really matters, because how you go to sleep and what you think about and what you're worrying about because of how you spoke to everybody during the day is going to dictate how you dream. So how we go to sleep is an art form, and then it provides astral projection, lucid and vivid dreams. It provides revelations. When you go to sleep, your ego is out of the way, in a sense. Once you're off in an imagination or you're playing with your ego, but you're also playing with your ego. So when you leave your body is able to say, finally, he's out of the way. She's out of the way. Let's get organized. When they come back, they're just going to get it. And have these enormous epiphanies and all of these things. So I can't wait to share some of these transcendental experiences with you, because I firmly believe that the mastermind connection that we can create and cultivate will and does share mental pictures between people who are sensitive enough to tune into each other and connect to life itself in a certain way. And then when you show up in a room, people are wondering what you did with your hair, what spa you're going to, how you've gotten this stillness, how are you so calm, and how are you so collected, how are you so just unshook by anything that happens. And people kind of see that, and then they're inspired. You plant seeds by not saying anything and not doing anything that doesn't need to happen, and when you do nothing, you leave nothing undone. Namaste. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for allowing me to invite you into my sacred space to create. All we need is a little space to create. Nothing big, nothing major, just a little corner to find and create that that mental sanctuary, that cave that is created to keep everything else at bay. That foxhole of the mind. So thank you so much for stepping into my own mental cave.